Hello students, in last video lecture we studied section 4 drama and genre. In that first lecture we studied about introduction of the novel, major characters and minor characters, summary of the novel, theme of the novel, synopsis of the extract. In this today's lecture we are going to learn chapter number 17, to serve with love, because that much only given in the lesson. So let's see the chapter number 17. First I read the lesson chapter and later on I'll explain. Chapter 17, to serve with love. The half yearly report of the student council was on November 15 and was one of the important days in the calendar of Greenslade School. I had heard quite a deal about these occasions and became an excited as the children as the day approached. It was entirely their day, arranged, presented, and controlled by them. I observed the activities of my class as they prepared for it. Nothing with pride, the business like way in which tasks were allocated and fit into the neat program. There were whispered conferences with members of other classes in the arrangement of it. On that day, there was no assembly. The children arrived smartly dressed and polished, and Miss Joseph and Denham, who seemed to be the important officials for the occasion, moved about among their collegians, ensuring that each one was ready to play his or her part. See, in the first passage, the writer explained the report of the students, means academic report of the students, half yearly report, semester report we called, which was organized on November 15, and according to that day, some special activities they done. In that activities, they shown the students' criteria, students' philosophical view, educational view among their study, their different types of the activities, their arrangement, and their some specific extracurricular activities they shown, and with the help of that, how does the children and the students shown their actual work, what they did in that last 6 months, they just presented. Look at the second. The bell was rung at 11:10 a.m., means the beginning of the school, and everyone walk into the auditorium to sit together in classes. Means there was a program, so that's why uh, when that day at 10 o'clock the school started, that time the program was organized in that auditorium room. So all the classes, all the students, they went there in auditorium room. Miss Joseph and Denham, the two most senior students, sat on the stage, one on each side of Mr. Florian, who, as soon as everyone was seated and silent, you know that in the school mostly the senior student, as a CR, class representative student, we call the monitor also. Two students there were in that school. Name was Joseph and Denham. Both were the senior student. They both went to the stage, and as a representative, they started to their program with the help of Mr. Florian. Mr. Florin, who as soon as everyone was seated and silent, means according to the discipline manner, they perform their activities in the auditorium because it was a program arranged by the school. This everyone was seated and silent, stood and addressed the school. He spoke at length, repeating the aims and policy of the school, and one of the important contribution each child could make to the furtherance means advancement of those aims. He gave praise wherever it was indicated, but insisted that there was yet a great deal to be done by themselves towards a general improvement in conduct, cleanliness, and the pursuit of knowledge. As I listened, I realized that I realized that this man was in no way remote from his school. His remarks all show that he identified himself with it and everyone in it. He then wished them success with the council meeting and left the stage to tremendous applause. Applause means clapping. Now the program was started, and you know that the as usual the program was started. Some students speeches were organized, some teacher speeches, and some chief guest speeches, all that excellently done. And in that program in auditorium room, they explain their school report, what they done, what they achieved, about their goals, ambition, mission, all that things the writer mentioned here. And in that the really realized writers really realized what they achieved, their wish, their desired, what they actually achieved, they just realize in that view. Let's continue. Things now move quickly into gear. First, Miss Joseph stood up and gave a short explanation of the council purpose and its activities. Now the program was going on, and in that what happened, Miss Joseph just started to explain short explanations about what is the purpose of the councils, which activities they started. She started to explain. Each class would report through its representative on the studies pursued during the half year which began after Easter, a representative having been chosen for each subject. When all the classes had completed their reports, a panel of teachers would be invited to occupy the stage and answer questions from the body of the hall on matters arising out of the various reports. The selection of the panel, as with everything else, was entirely at the discretion of the children, and no members of the staff knew either how many or which teachers would be invited to sit. The reports begin with the lowest or youngest class first. These were mainly 12 years old who had joined the school the previous summer. Means in last summer they started their journey, and she explained here. Most of them were shy and rather frightened at standing up before the entire school, but nevertheless they managed it credibly. They had been newly introduced to the difficulties of seeking information for themselves, so the report was understandably rather short. Now Miss Joseph started to explain their reports, and according to the one academic year, what they achieve, about their goals, ambitions, they just mention which new activities they started. All they mentions. Let's continue. Class after class was represented, and it was obvious that with each succeeding term there was a marked development in their ability to express themselves. Much of the work was rather elementary, but to them it loomed large because they understood it and something of its relationship to themselves. Throughout all the reports, the emphasis was on what they understood rather than on what they were expected to learn. When the turn of my class came, I set up anxiously from the list he held in his hand. Denham called out the names of the representatives, together with the subjects on which they would report, such as Potter arithmetic, Spanio nature study, Miss Peg and Jackson geography, Miss Dare and Fernan physiology, Miss Dodd history, Denham PT and games, and Miss Joseph domestic science. Here the work allotments and the teachers in charge or the faculty in charge were presented in that report. I felt terribly pleased and proud to see the confident courtesy means politeness, good manners with which Denham used the term Miss in addressing each of the senior girls. I felt sure that this would in itself be something for the younger ones to aim at, a sort of badge of young adulthood. As their names were called, they walked up to the stage and took their seats with commendable gravity. Miss Joseph then gave a short address, means speech. She said that their lessons had a particular bias towards the brotherhood of mankind, and that they had been learning through each subject how all mankind was interdependent in spite of geographical location and differences in color, races, and creeds, means faith. Then she called on Potter. Potter went on to speak of the work they had done on weight and measures of the relationship between the kilogram and the pound, the meter and the foot. Look at the word kilogram, pound, meter, foot. All these words are related to the arithmetic. He said that throughout the world, one or other of those two methods was either in use or understood, and that it was a symbol of the greater understanding which was being accomplished between peoples. Sapiano spoke of the study the class had made of pest, especially black rot on wheat, boll, weevil on cotton, and the Colorado beetle on potatoes. He showed how many countries had pooled their knowledge on result of research on the behavior, breeding habits and migration of these pests, and were gradually reducing the threat they represented to these important products. Miss Pegg and Jackson divided the report on geography between them. Jackson spoke first on the distributions of mineral deposits and vegetable produce over the earth's surface. How a country rich in one was often deficient in the other, and of the interchange and interdependence which inevitably followed. Miss Pegg dealt with human relationship, stressing the problem facing the post-war wood for feeding, clothing and housing its populations. She also made a reference to the thousands of refugees, state, stateless and unwanted, and of the efforts and programs of UNICEF. Farman, as usual, had a trump card up his sleeve. When called, he made a signal to someone off the stage, and Welch and Alice appeared bearing a skeleton between them, together with a sort of gallows. Together with sort of gallows. When this arrangement had been set up, there was the skeleton hanging from a hook screwed into the top of its skull, gently revolving at the end of the cord. This, this was somewhat in the nature of comic relief, and the school showed its approval by laughing uproariously, but levity soon evaporated when Fernand began to speak. His voice was clear and precise, and he had a strong sense of the dramatic. Calmly, he told them that it was a female skeleton. That was a fact and could easily be proved, but he could not say with any assurance whether she had been Chinese or French or German or Greek. Nor could he say if she had been brown or white or a mixture of both. And from that, he said the class had concluded that basically all people were the same. The trimming might be different, but the foundations were all laid out according to the same blueprint. Furman was wonderful. He had them eating out of this hand. Miss Dare's contribution was something of an anticlimax after Fernand's performance, and she seemed to realize it. She spoke about the problem which all humanity has to face in terms of sickness and disease, and of the advantages gained by interchange of knowledge, advice, and assistance. Thank you.